Welcome to Connecting the Dots, a non-traditional legal program with your host and trusted advisor, Liz Myska, your guide through the web of life's dilemmas.
Welcome to another edition of Connecting the Dots. I'm your host, Liz Myska, and today I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming another candidate for City Council, District 5, I've been told. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for having me, Liz. My name is Maydee Morales, and I'm actually running for City Council at large.
At large?
Yes.
Okay.
So I live in District 5, though.
Okay. I want to hear about yourself, but how is District 5, defined? I mean, like, what are the landmarks?
So we've got Newton Hill, Mill Street, Pleasant Street, a bit of Pleasant Street, and all the way out to Stafford Street.
Okay. So like a wedge.
Yes,
It's like a wedge.
definitely.
The airport too?
I'm not sure.
Again,
The way they split these districts,
I
I'm not sure.
know.
I think it is, yes.
Okay. What made you want to run for City Council?
So I've lived in Worcester for over 30 years, and I have been always working in the nonprofit sector. And some years ago, from hearing the stories of the people that I was serving and the inequities of services and benefits in the community, I started listening to the municipality and the city council and listening to what they were talking about, and I saw a lot of inequities explode, right? So I want to amplify the voices of those that I have served at the municipal level, so that when we're making decisions for our community and for our city, we count everyone and we hear how it affects everyone in our community.
I understand you have children and grandchildren. Are you concerned from the school point of view? Are you concerned from the people? People seem, I say on one hand, apathetic about participating, but on the other hand, kind of not enticed to participate, I guess. And I'm thinking in terms of voting, and I'm wondering. I know you're in the early stages, but when you talk to people, is that some of what they're saying to you?
So I think a couple of things, right? I think representation matters, and so a lot of people, I think, do not come out to vote because people who are running don't necessarily go to them or look like them, right? So my hope is that they see themselves in me and that they know the work that and hear about the work that I've been doing for our community, and so that will entice them to come out and vote. I also think that
it's just apathy and complacency, or the feeling of being left out, deliberately left out. So why bother?
Well, right. I think a good example of that is our inclusionary zoning, right? The people came out, and they said, this is what we need, this is what, otherwise we're going to be homeless. And yet we did not choose the best proposal that would help those that work here to continue to live here. Those that have lived here for a very long time to be able to remain here. The way the rents are going up, it's scary for people, right? I'm going to become homeless with my children. Right. So, but yes, I have 4 children and 2 granddaughters and 2 beautiful nieces that are absolutely my world.
That's awesome. What type of work did you do in the nonprofit sector?
So I worked in the homeless shelter system, helping families transition to self-sufficiency and into homes and affordable housing. I have worked for for Friendly House, and I've worked for Catholic Charities as the Director of Emergency Services. So I oversaw the social services component of Catholic Charities throughout Worcester County.
Wow.
So we had offices in not only Worcester, but also Leominster, Milford, and Southbridge.
Wow. What would have been a highlight during your during your tenure at any of these organizations?
There's so many highlights, so many. From seeing a mom with children move out of the shelter into her first apartment sometimes, and then decide to give back and get a job within the shelter system. Amazing, right? Because that's lived experience. She could not teach it and help better than anyone else, right? To being the person that gives someone a bag of food that they're going to utilize with items inside that will feed their babies' bellies, right? And one of my favorite stories and really inspiring, right? And said to me, I'm doing the right work, was during COVID, a woman came to my door and said, well, I was running a food pantry for Catholic Charities, and said, my daughter has COVID, and she just brought me my 2 grandkids, like 1 and 2, in diapers, and I've been to every store and I can't find diapers.
Oh, wow.
And so I said, well, we've got them, right? Because we did basic needs and safety net services for people. So I brought out the 2 diapers, and she just broke out in tears. Thank you so much, right? So being able to fill those immediate needs for people, and then going into policy and changing policies and supporting a bill that would allow people to purchase diapers with their SNAP benefits, or have more diapers available in food pantries for families. Those are the things that inspire me. Those are the things that move me. Those are the things that I think make change, right? And bring about change. So, yeah.
You reminded me that I'm Catholic, and when I was driving, which was 15 years ago, at Christmas time and at Thanksgiving, my husband and I used to volunteer for the bishop's
the bishop's dinner.
The bishop's dinner, but to deliver meals,
Yes.
not to serve meals. And because I no longer drive, and usually Christmas time, people vanish from my life because they have other fish to fry. But this past Christmas of 2022, I had an optometry student from Mass College of Pharmacy, whose family lived in California. I invited her to spend Christmas with me, and she is a driver. And she's like, Liz, what do you want to do for Christmas? And I said, I want to go deliver meals, like we did, in the past. Well, in the past, again, pre-COVID, it was like there were lots and lots of volunteers, and like 6 meals or less. Well, we arrived there on Christmas Day, and again, for everyone's recollection, Christmas Day of 2022, it was freezing cold, freezing cold. So, and because we were still in the band, we couldn't get out of the car. So when we got up to the delivery point, so the meals are cooked, and then they have volunteers to bring the boxes out with the bags of the meals, which people sign up for, or people sign up other people for. The gentleman with the who had the box said, "Can you take 42?" And it's like, 42 meals? 42 meals? Well, again, this was going to be our Christmas.
Yep.
So when you're talking about give back, we had the best time. We started at 9:00 in the morning. We finished at 2:30 in the afternoon. Many of the places we went to were in, off of Main Street. We had to park the car and walk. Not complaining, mind you, but it was cold, all right? It was cold, But just the knowledge that that this meal was intended for someone. And the rule is you can't leave it because of the Board of Health. And Anna is the name of the optometry student. She's like, but Liz, they may need it. They may need it. And I'm like, well, these are the rules. We got to, because we had a card with a telephone number. But it was just so meaningful. And when when I tell people that story, that made my Christmas. I mean, that was my Christmas.
Yes.
And people say to me, "Oh, isn't that nice?" No, it wasn't about me being nice. It was about giving back. It was about being a human being and realizing you have bounty and other people don't, and sharing that bounty, and just sharing it with Anna.
Yeah. That is one of the best things that Catholic Charities does.
Absolutely.
We take out 3,000 meals in the day, and it is just amazing how it fills one's heart.
Yes.
And the dedication of volunteers who show up on those cold days, amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, again, it's like a two-way street, and I think that's akin to what I heard you saying about why you're running. You've been a recipient. You've been passive. We've all been recipients of services. We've all been passive.
Yeah.
But let's turn it around. Let's be active.
Yes.
And active means improving and changing.
And creating a change for our whole community, right?
Exactly.
Taking the experiences that I've had and the things that I've learned and I've heard from the folks that I've served, and taking it to that other level. And making sure, because just because somebody didn't say I have that need doesn't mean they didn't have it either, right?
Right.
So it's changing the rules, it's changing the policies towards a better community.
Right.
So.
You're also reminding me when one of the places that Anna and I delivered to on Christmas was off of Franklin Street. And again, seemingly, so this is downtown. We were downtown, and seemingly from the outside, oh, this looks luxurious, or this, and again, not to put a stamp on it. Well, this is intended for disabled people, or this is intended for poor people, or this is intended for these. But I guess you don't see it if you're not looking for it. Right. And if you don't know it, you're definitely not going to look for it.
And you know what? Sometimes I think it's intended for people who have no one else.
Right.
Right? Because I often think of the person who's in that house on Christmas Day, on Thanksgiving Day, and the volunteer with that hot meal is the only one that they're going to see that day. It's otherwise they would not have had a Merry Christmas, Yeah. And so,
that's very true. I mean, in the past, when I was driving, oftentimes people would invite you in. It's kind of like, no, like, I appreciate it, but you're right. You were the emblem of society then. It was somebody reaching out, and somebody connecting to somebody, because a lot of times people don't know where to go. And you said earlier that you're, I'm going to mess it up.
No worries. We'll get it right together.
When you introduced yourself, you referenced African and Latina. Is that,
okay, there you go. Rica, yeah.
Okay. And again, not every speaker, not everybody knows. You're familiar with what you've been exposed to, other people have been exposed to. But I think feel that they, because they don't know, and why would you know?
Right.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
But the travesty is that when you're learn, and then you shun. I don't need to know that. Yeah. Well, you need.
I mean, I think it's important for us to be open to learning new things every day.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't know it, and so I take things in, and then I respect that. Right? Somebody teaches me something about their culture, somebody about their home, their family. I'm like, great, wow, and I want to respect that and support that.
Do you see that certain elements of the population, again, just feel that they're never going to be permitted to participate, and therefore they're just they're disinclined because it's too difficult? Are you encounter?
I think sometimes it's too difficult. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it shows you, when you look in the mirror, right? You could be that person, or you have somebody in your family who may be like that. And so I think that's what scares people sometimes. But I say we all need to look at each other as humans.
Yeah.
We're all human beings and we all have gifts. And so let's enhance those gifts that people have. I don't have all the gifts, so I make sure that I surround myself with people who have other gifts that I don't have, and then we make a great team, right? So, it's about teamwork, it's about family, it's about welcoming all at the table. Or at least being aware of everybody's experiences and welcoming those experiences at the table and listening to the experts sometimes.
Right. But sometimes, again, I think sometimes the experts are the people with the lived experience and not the so-called, the book learned.
Oh, yeah. 100% agree with you, yes.
And I guess coming from, again, from the sighted world into the world of the visually impaired, and being exposed to people with different challenges other than, what my path is, nothing about us without us, consulting people and not just saying, well, I talked to them and now I'm going to take what I heard and implement it. No, and again, you said this very eloquently. You're of the representative, yes. So you're a reflection of all of these things, not just one, one note, on the keyboard.
Yeah, no, I'm the type of person that, I was so glad to meet you, Liz, because I told you, I've often wondered, how do blind people or visually impaired folks cross the street, right? I'm a visual person.
We don't.
And I know, and I keep thinking about that, and I'm like, how can I fix that? What can I do? I need to talk to Liz more about this, right? Because I want to learn. Right? Because this is our city. Right. And so we're all part of it. And we are all part of what makes Worcester beautiful and the enchanting city that it is, right? And so I want to elevate those things. So how do I make it so that people who are visually impaired are able to cross the street, and safely, right? Yes, right. Safely.
Right. Well, I could go off on a whole tangent. But again, it comes down to human behavior, and it doesn't have anything to do with the color of your eyes, the color of your skin, what nationality you are, how old you are. Human behavior, and if it's something is scary, like you said, or fearful, what do? You avoid it. Right. So you don't go. Right. And you miss out. Right.
So my hope at the city council level, right, is to be able to continue to elevate your voice, continue to bring you into when we're talking about those things, public safety, walking the sidewalks, right? Yeah. Hey, let's get Liz and her group in here, right? Because they are the ones that have to walk through these sidewalks and cross these streets, right? So and hopefully in the end create change. Right.
Well, and again, what I said earlier, and you also hinted on this, bring awareness, because oftentimes when I'm doing my blind gig, which involves blindfolding people under safe circumstances, in unsafe situations, but with safety, then there's revelation, and that's what's necessary. I referenced this to you off camera, but I did a training for some City of Worcester employees last Friday. So there were Department of Transportation and Mobility, there are people in planning, and we were walking around City Hall, Main Street, Front Street, Franklin Street, and some of the planners were like, they said, "Oh my gosh, who thought of having granite, in front?" He said, "Because it's beautiful, but when you gotta walk on it, it's uneven." Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Welcome to my world, right?
Exactly. But they wouldn't have made that comment had they not been guided over it, had the cane stick into their belly, because that's the cane reverbs. So it was, and again, that's just music to my ears, because it's kind of like, and it's not like, see, I told you so, or see, this needs to, it's like, now you've got the awareness. Now let's take this information.
And let's work together.
Right.
Let's work together.
Exactly. And let's puzzle this out and not just say, oh, well, this is a small segment of the population that needs this.
And even if you can't fix the granite that's there when you're doing new builds, right?
Yep.
You're making sure that you don't put the granite.
Exactly.
And, and that might seem simple to some other people, but for a visually impaired person, right? That's a big difference, whether or not you can come out of your home. And so that's the kind of change that I want to make.
Right.
At the city level, not just for, visually impaired folks, but for BIPOC folks, for differently abled folks, for the whole community, so that we are all able to enjoy our city and be out and about in it.
Absolutely. Does the district, no, you're at large.
Yes, ma'am.
The Coast Pond Accessible Playground, is that, are you familiar with that?
Yep, I did hear a little bit about that. Yep.
Well, I'm going to invite you to come and experience that because we are all big. We are all kids at heart.
Yes,
all big kids, and we have discovered that when you allow adults to play. They will play and they do create. So
all right, it's a date. We're going.
Yes, and I don't have children, so people would be like, and these would be students. Would be like, we're going to the playground. Well, I can't tell you, Maydee, how. They're like, can we go to the playground? I thought you were adults.
But kids at heart.
Exactly. Well, because again, they had circumscribed themselves and said, well, that's for that group, children and adults who have children, instead of this is for everybody. And this is a place where everybody can find something to attract them to be, to be part of the community, to be part of nature too. I mean, the city has done an awesome job, an absolutely awesome job with that. Parks and Rec have done an awesome job.
We do have some great parks.
We do. There are 60 parks in Worcester. Not all of them, and don't get me started on accessibility because that's a whole different That's a whole different topic, but. But yes, there is a momentum, and that's what I hope for Worcester, that they know that we don't march in place, that we march forward, and we don't reach back.
And I think we see that, right? And that's the hope with so many people running, and I think people want that change. I think people want to move forward. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to move our city forward, be able to continue to provide for our community and meet the needs of our community. Right. So the one that's here and the one that we want to welcome.
So volunteers, what are you in need of that the audience could?
What a great question. So yes, we are in need of volunteers to help us go out and knock on doors. So you can go on my website, MaydayForCityCouncil.com, and you can register. Always, we'll take funds. Anybody wants to give me any funds to serve our community. Campaigns are not easy all around, right? Not only do we have to raise $40,000 to $50,000 in order to do it, we also have to get out there and knock on doors. We need to get the message across to the whole city because we're doing at large. So any and all of those things, MaydayForCityCouncil.com. You can register to volunteer. Lawn signs on your yard. Let people know, especially those areas that are visible to the community. So, yeah.
And have you been flag waving or doing the at intersections yet?
No, I've actually been knocking on doors and having great conversations with folks, right? So excited that you're running. Yes, we need some change. I don't agree with you, but we're having great conversations. And that's what it's about. Right. For me, it's getting to know more and more people in the community and having those great conversations to see where we can go to from there, how we can work together. What's our common ground?
Absolutely. Well, I have to say I'm admiring your pluckiness and your willingness to, again, confront change, because that's what this is about.
Yes.
And again, what's the next significant date that is like is it the primary?
So the primaries, yes, in September,
Yep.
and then the voting days in November. So the at-large candidates, there's only 12 of us, so we don't have to have a primary, but other districts do, and school committee does. So we still need people to get out there in September and vote.
Okay. Well, I am pleased as punch that you came and told us about yourself and shared your vision for Worcester. And I wish you luck. And again, we're going to have that date at COES.
Oh yes, definitely. You know my number. And I'm so glad that I'm able to be here today with you. Thank you so much for the invite and giving me a chance and a platform to talk a little bit more about me so that Worcester gets to know me better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Join me again for another edition of Connecting the Dots.
Please note that the information provided in this show is not a substitute for consulting with an experienced local attorney and receiving counsel based on the facts and circumstances of a particular transaction. To contact Lizbeth, email her at lisbeth@elizabethlmyska.com or call her office at 508-753-7681. We're online at connectingthedots.lawyer. Executive producers, Liz Myska and Jack Peacock. Producers, John Medberry and Bill Hamilton. A production of Elizabeth L. Myska, JD, LLM, in association with Compliments.